2014 Hancock and style sponsors amends the code to limit the idling of motor vehicles. We also have a proposed amendment and a proposed substitute. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And Councilmember Hancock, you are here. You can tell us all about your substitute, your amendment.
So my substitute ordinance is to try to address the outpouring of input we've gotten from the public. And one piece of information that we and our legal team actually got from the health department is that this does not fall to Metro Nashville Police Department law enforcement, because this is a air pollution issue. This falls to the Department of Health. And similar to the state of Connecticut, where the penalty for idling is a citizen can report to the Department of Health, we would like to do that. However, the Department of Health would like to have this reported via the hub or any future version of that if we ever move from the hub. And they may, if budget allows or if grants are obtained, send a postcard of information to the citizens to let them know about why idling isn't good for the health. Education is another concern that we heard. We also heard a concern about extreme temperatures, and we have proposed a exemption for temperatures below 40 and above 75 to allow that concern to be released. And because there are so many places that people were concerned about, we specified to restrict it to the idling bill to restrict to public streets and private parking lots and parking structures instead of just anywhere. Not everyone understood that this was not intended while you're in traffic. It's not intended at traffic lights. It's not intended for there's an accident. But this makes it a lot more clear, I think, for everyone, as well as lists the non-idling bills we already have in place, such as State of Tennessee's required since 2010 that no car shall be left unattended while idling unless locked and no key is in the ignition. A lot of the feedback we heard is, are you saying I can't go out to my car and turn it on and warm it up and then go back and get ready? And that's already against the law, so this does not touch that at all. 2014, the Metro government introduced a no idling bill for Metro employees while driving Metro vehicles. And in 2017, the Livable Nashville Committee recommended the launch of a no idling program at Nashville schools, hospitals, and daycare centers. And that was intended to be a pilot and then move farther. But I'm hearing from the public that education is a necessity. So what I would like to do is pass this substitute ordinance so that everyone knows that we are listening to what they have to say and are taking that into consideration, and so that that will go on file and then do an indefinite deferral.
Do you have a motion on substitute?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion?
So, if I understand right, at the end of the day, we're not going to make this law, but this is a way to kind of at least get the discussion going and have some education part.
That's correct. And, you know, the Metro Nashville Police Department is already does not oppose. The National General Hospital is already in support. WeGo already complies. And
because the people I heard from were not in support of this.
Right. And I understand the education isn't out there, and I'm hearing that loud and clear, and I think that we need to do a better job of getting that information out to the public and let them know about their safety and their health and how they could improve that on their own without legislation.
So I drive a hybrid. Does that still fall under the same?
Depends on what you do with your hybrid. A lot of people, when they stop, the hybrids turn off, so you're not idling.
So I can turn mine on and leave it, let it heat up in the morning, because I don't have a key. I just turn it on from the house.
Right, so that's a remote start. That's legally allowed in the state of
legal.
Tennessee, as long as your car is locked and there's no key in the ignition.
But I mean, I could actually let it idle as well, is what you're saying, correct?
But your hybrid, when you're stopped, if you've driven somewhere for 20 minutes or something, then you stop, your hybrid automatically turns off, and that's not idling. That's what this bill is concerned. It was never concerned about when people are starting. It's when people get to where they're going to turn off their car. So
Before we go further with the questions, can we get the substitute on, and then we can ask questions on the bill? So all in favor of the substitute?
Aye.
All right. So so go ahead with your question on the bill. That's okay.
That was it. That was just my question. And how are we going to differentiate? You know, if somebody were to turn me in, I'm assuming people will turn each other in. Is that how that happens? Is that how that works?
I guess if you were waiting in a car line at a school, for example, for 45 minutes and the person in front of you is running their engine the entire time, then they could report your license plate number to the Department of Health, and then you might receive a postcard in the mail explaining the benefits of not idling, just like we have the Nobody Trashes Tennessee law. If you report someone, they get a brochure in the mail talking about no littering.
But I guess what I'm saying, and this thing with the hybrid, mine is, even when it's on, it's off until I touch the gas. And so I would have it on for 45 minutes. So in essence, I would be doing the same thing, right?
If it's off until you touch the gas, then you are not idling. I've driven hybrids for several years too, so I understand what your car does. However, if you're blasting the air conditioner, your car might turn back on.
That's what I'm saying. So I would technically be idling.
You would be idling when you're doing that, yeah.
Okay.
So if
And that's why we take the temperature extremes into consideration.
So if it were 42 degrees outside and I were waiting in line for school with my child, with my newborn in the car, I would not be allowed to have my heat running.
Well, correct. I mean, generally when you're driving to school, your heat is on. And generally when you get to school, you would turn your car off. And generally when you turn your car off, your heat just doesn't automatically vanish.
Well, for 45, I have to get to school by 2:30 to pick up my
Right.
kid at 3.
So the idling is for no more than 3 minutes as proposed. So you could turn your car off, and then if in 10 minutes you felt like it was too cold, you could turn your car back on. And it would warm up very quickly because you've already had your car on that day.
And how long can he legally leave it on before it's considered idling?
As the current bill is written, 3 minutes.
You can leave it on for 3 minutes and then turn it off. And how do people prove in retrospect? I mean, like,
What the
unless somebody was
temperature was.
videoing.
There wouldn't be any proof because there's nothing on your record. It would just be an informational piece that you would receive in the mail, so it wouldn't matter. if
But
you
I mean,
received it.
what keeps me from turning Dave in, which I will do?
You absolutely should, because I'm sitting there.
I'm going to. But what would keep, and I'm truly asking, I'm not being critical or anything, I just don't understand. From turning him in and being wrong, like thinking that he had gone 3 minutes when it was actually like 2.5.
I mean, I think that's the beauty of the fact that there's not a fine and there's nothing on the record. It's if you were wrong, it's no harm to Dave because Dave already is performing perfectly in the idling or not idling line. And when he gets a brochure in the mail, he'll just be like, oh, look, some more benefits to not idling. He can hand it to his wife and share that.
To be perfectly honest, if I got that in the mail, I would go turn my car on in the driveway and leave it on for the rest of the day.
Nash, you had a
And
question?
it's not
Hold on a
affected by this idling bill at all.
Councilman Nash, you had a question?
Not so much question. I really think this is, and I understand what you're trying to do, and I support that education part of it. But some things don't need to be made law, and I think this may be one of them. I mean, we had to rewrite this thing. I mean, because it was so confusing to start with, and it just adds more confusion. I think we would be much better spending our time with resolutions, maybe reminding people of this, some education at schools. At the moment, I just can't support it, and I don't want to.
And I'm not interested in clogging up Hub Nashville either. That app and that website is continually each month getting more and more because people are using it for legitimate reasons that are proven. There's people's sofas in the yard, there's this, that, and the other. And so when you've got the general public that is supposed to be responding to an ordinance or whatever about someone idling that has so many different exceptions. There's different temperatures, there's different places, there's different situations, there's different whatever. And then this postcard is going to go out, and I asked about postcards before, who's going to pay for that? There's just way too many ways for this to be a nightmare that I feel like the intent is to reduce air pollution, and I get that, and I'm 100% for that. I think that your efforts would be better placed in just an education piece, and going with the private company route or the nonprofit route of saying, let's partner together to educate the general public versus the one-off postcard here and there, relying on you to turn in Dave. To me, is an effort that's not going to go anywhere. I would rather see just an in general PSA of what I mean. Put efforts there.
Yes,
So would
and-
you like to make a motion and to definitely defer this?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to indefinitely defer.
Do we have a second? All right. Any further discussion on that motion?
Is this to definitely?
Substitute applied
So,
Yes.
It's to indefinitely defer the bill
as substitute.
Substitute.
as substituted.
I think that's what my plan was.
It is.
Yes, so
That's
I.
exactly what you want
Thank
done.
you.
So, all in favor?
Can I add one sentence to the substitute ordinance that we got just as I was walking into the meeting from the
That would-
judicial airport?
You could do it on the floor,
If I
maybe,
can-
but,
Could I do that on
Wear
the
my
floor?
hat as rules, at this point, since you're deferring, and that would have to be a late filing and a rule suspension, you should probably do it when it comes
yeah,
back.
I would add that sentence if you should ever bring this up again, is what I would do.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks for
is there any other business? That concludes the Public Safety Committee meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I feel bad all night.